You know, it is kind of funny to me that even as the Castlevania TV show on Netflix was going on, Konami still couldn't crank out even half-assed Castlevania. You know what we did get though? Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which I constantly have to remind myself not to call Symphony of the Night, because if you know the 2D Castlevanias of the PS1 and Game Boy Advance eras, you know, things like Symphony of the Night, Aria of Sorrow, etc., etc. This is a new one of those, made by the same main creative force. Probably gonna mispronounce that, but Koei Igarashi, and he was more than willing to make more of these. Konami got rid of him, so he went to Kickstarter and went, "Hey, come fund my totally new game that is definitely not Castlevania, except it is. It's Castlevania with the serial numbers filed off, except we're not getting any new decent Castlevania games, so I'm real happy to play this. This has been out for a few years. I've been meaning to play it. I've been meaning to play it for a while, and I got exactly what I wanted out of this. This has I would say, slightly more intentionally tongue-in-cheek tone to it than Castlevania does. Castlevania could often be a little tongue-in-cheek. I mean, you can just look at lines like, "What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets," and the delivery of that line. There's a reason it became mimetic. But this is, so how do I want to describe the humor? Here's I may not be the best example, but it's my favorite example to give you an idea of the humor. So there's various people in the town outside the castle that you spend the entire time, you know, exploring and killing monsters in. And they give you quests. And one of them gives you quests of the kill a certain number of this monster type. And she officially has a backstory behind each one, like, oh, kill these monsters to avenge this person that this kind of monster killed. And it starts out reasonable enough. Avenge my husband. Avenge my brother. I'm like, cool. You've suffered a loss from these creatures. I'll go get them. But then later on, it's avenge my neighbor. Avenge the town doctor. Avenge my cousin's friend. That's real. That one, it's like she delivers all these with the same, go and avenge them. Avenge my cousin's friend. I had a lot of fun with this. And if you like 2D Castlevania games, this is a really good version of that. And it is worth keeping in mind if you aren't familiar with these, and if you're used to more, well, to use another example of a game, one that I have reviewed and one that I think I still need to. I think I've reviewed I need to check that. There's a lot of games I've played, but I have failed to do reviews on that I want to try and catch up on. But if you are more used to something in the vein of, say, Hollow Knight or even Rogue Legacy 2, you're going to find a little bit of a shift in thought process and playstyle is going to be necessary, because while you can end up dealing with a lot of monsters and you're going to get a lot of cool skills and abilities and spells and all that, your movement is a lot more deliberate. You are not going to be zipping around the space. And even your attacks have a little bit of a delay on them. Some of them more, you know, the bigger, heavier weapons, the great swords, very deliberately. But even the faster things, like, it's not instant slash the way that you might be used to with some games with a more modern sensibility. Now, this is an updated Castlevania game, but it is still steeped in sort of the approach and the mindset of PS1, Game Boy Advance kind of era. And Castlevania, even right back to its very first game, has always been much more deliberate with things like the movement, the attacks. It was never instantaneous. It could have been from the beginning, but it was always intended to lend itself to something slightly more thought out instead of just getting in close and wailing away. That said, that's what I tend to do, and with the right skills and stat boosts and spells, that is a viable solution. But just realize the game's not really optimized for that. But I still had a lot of fun. And as you would expect from this kind of game with technically not Castlevania branding on it. There is a wonderful variety of creatures all over the place. A bunch of stuff pulled from mythology, a bunch of just weird things, and just, again, adding to the absurdity, literally some monsters modeled after what I'm pretty sure are some Kickstarter backers' pets. There's also a lot of portraits in the background with an awful lot of faces that I'm pretty sure were high-end backers, and I love the fact that they're just there. It's the kind of thing that if the game was trying to be taken more seriously and was less camp than it is, it's the kind of thing that could really take me out like, oh, geez, remind me it's a video game, why don't you? But like, it's not taking itself seriously enough where that's a detriment. And actually, I think it's kind of an enhancement because it's just bringing up the artificiality of the whole thing. And since it's not trying to be super immersive, it's just trying to be fun, I actually think that works pretty well. I could go over the story and the plot, but what's the point? It's more intricate than it needs to be, which I suppose in its way could almost be classified as a joke in and of itself. But you play Miriam. You are dealing with this background of you're going up against someone you have a personal history with. The church is there. There's these alchemists there. Different people have different agendas. There's a big castle. It's full of monsters. Go in there and kill the monsters and gain more abilities to explore new areas and then kill more monsters. Like, that's what it is. The plot is go in the castle and kill the monsters. Everything else is just window dressing on it. But it is enjoyably campy window dressing if you feel like engaging with it. I won't lie, I had a tendency to skip most of the dialogue that wasn't cutscenes. I did let the cutscenes play out, and the story is fine, but the story's not what I'm here for, and I think the game knows that. So I don't consider that a particularly big detriment, because for me, the mark of a good game of this type is it fun to explore? Is it exciting to run across new monsters? Is there a reason to engage with and catalog them? Because there's a lot of things for the 100% sort of people. You can try and get 100% of the map filled out. You can try and find 100% of the monsters. You can try and collect 100% of the shards, which are special abilities that monsters will drop, but they don't drop every single time you kill one. So you might have to grind for some of them. You can find yourself hunting for all the various ingredients so you can craft the different meals that you get. And that's even not that one I actually did, because that's not, strictly speaking, just a busy work thing. Whenever you craft a new dish, you eat them for health in a fight. But the first time you consume any specific meal, it gives you a permanent boost to some stats. Some of them boost your HP permanently, your strength, your whatever, intelligence, luck, skills, etc. So there is actually quite a big incentive to find all the ingredients and make all the meals so that you can get a pretty significant stat boost if you do all of it, which I did. And I felt a little overpowered by the end. I did beat the final boss on my first try, which was odd. I mean, I say final, but there's like two stages to it. There's like the boss you're expecting to fight, and then there's the huge giant mega monster that gets summoned at the very end. The boss that I was expecting to fight, I did have to fight twice, but the huge mega monster I beat on my first try. And so I am kind of like, boy, I might have over-leveled myself. There are harder difficulties. I don't know if I will do it at a higher difficulty, because for me, the fun was in the exploration, not necessarily the challenge of combat or things like that. But I got exactly what I wanted out of this. I got about 40 hours of exploration, of dark theming, dark fantasy, camp, absurdity. There are bunny girls as some of the enemies in this. If you've got the right sense of humor or the right nostalgia, because I do have nostalgia for things like Symphony of the Night and Aria of Sorrow and games like that, then, like, if you have not already played this, which you probably have, as I said, it's been out for a few years, I recommend and enjoyed. So there you go. Bloodstained, Ritual of the Night. Have you played it? What do you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Is there another Metroidvania that you really like that is not one of, like, the old classics, like Symphony of the Night or Super Metroid or something? Like something from the last 5 years. Anything in that range that you want to recommend? I do enjoy Metroidvanias. I've played quite a few of them. Whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Patreon pays the bills. I play on Twitch. There's a link in the description for that. All the usual stuff. You know what it is. Don't worry too much about it, though. Take a relaxed attitude around here, so you can just come on back next time you need a break. And now my thanks to my Patreon supporters that make this possible, including Robin Moore, Zubin Lutfula, Tarak, the thing that goes doink in the anime, Ruth, Oliver B., Solitary Pictures, Ulrich Bogdan, Melinda Walters, Jen, T. Love, Auntie Kate 808, Bernabe Likes the Poodle, Robin Powell, Tracy Scrabbit, Angry Casperl, Adam RDL Taylor, Dave Hall, Shayla Gourlay, and Rosalind Bennett. You can get I get all the names right and then I can't talk. If you want to hear me stumble over my tongue after saying your name, it's in the rewards here on the Patreon.